Okay, let's see where I left off at. Okay, with the Stephen Pettigrew as my doctor that I got when I first got here to to Oklahoma. First in Ohio, I was being seen at a hospital there where they found all the breaks in my nose and that stuff. And then when I came here to Oklahoma, they found that my gallbladder wasn't functioning. It stopped working. It was completely not pumping at all. It was filled with, first they thought it was sludge, and they said it was stones, and then they said it was just completely dead. I mean, it just was really what he called, quote unquote, very ill. Just, it needed to go. Thank God they got in there and got it, because it could have even turned gangrene. Because things like that sitting there they can turn gangrene. I don't think of things like that, but yep, it can happen. And and then of course the dilated kidney, which was the first thing they found when I came here, when I went to the emergency room with the pain that was persistent from the time that I was beaten, which was on the side. I was having a lot of pain, and so I went in and they found the dilated kidney, and they found the gallbladder. They took the gallbladder out, had some complications with that, some internal bleeding, which was really hard because 2 days, they did not believe me and did not think I was bleeding internal, and they weren't giving me any medicine. Like, I couldn't take anything by mouth, so the pain was constant, and it was like having somebody stab you in the stomach, and just for 2 days just sitting with a stabbed stomach and nobody helping you. Yeah, never want to go to that place again. Although, I'll tell you, I did see these cords, white cords. I mean, I know I'm kind of going off the subject a little bit, but I saw these cords that tie us all together, but they were feeling like straws. A friend of mine said something about having straws in her. It felt like that, because I was feeling everybody's feelings. Like, I was feeling the lady next to me. I was feeling my daughter. I was feeling it all, and which I do feel it all. But I was seeing the chords of it. It was wild. Anyways, then I balanced myself out with it because I was just picking up on too much of, and I was giving just way too much of myself in a way that I needed to utilize to replenish my own self. So I kind of did a little balancing with that when I was there, and I had to keep on vomiting the blood in order to alleviate the pain. Um, you have to keep vomiting blood if you are wounded in the stomach like that. The blood fills up, and that's when the pain gets ex- extraordinary. I mean, beyond giving birth pain. That is worst. So, anyways, yeah. So then after that, whole bleeding thing, they thought they were done with me. But I came back and I was telling him, what about my kidney? Because, that was dilated. And he was saying, well, it might be because, of um, the gallbladder. And I said, well, I don't know about that because it still hurts, and I'm still having issue with it, and, I could just still feel it, so I was like, I didn't really buy that, and um, he kind of just let it go for a while, and then I just kept on going back to him, and I kept on reminding him of it because it kept on hurting, and he wasn't doing anything about it. And then they were finding other things wrong with me, so they were doing my lungs, they did my breast, so there was other things that were going on in between me saying, what about my kidney, what about my kidney? So it wasn't just me looking at, like, my kidney. I was looking at what was going on with my lungs, so I was getting tested on my lung, and I was getting tested on my breast, and I was getting a test on my uterus, and just having different things looked at. Is mostly the breast and the lung with him, and they were trying to figure out what was going on there, and that took, a long period of time because I live out in Idabel, and you have to go kind of far to see a doctor, like a expert, or go to a hospital because they don't do anything in town. So in this town, in McCurtain County. So yeah, so I had to do it that way. And let's see, where was I? Yeah, so the whole thing with the kidney, it was just being ignored the whole time. And I was frustrated. I was literally a year and a half, me just, I continuously kept on reminding him. And after they did the breast thing, then, several months had passed. And I, in between, was reminding him. And then I finally was just like, look at this is still really hurting. And he just was telling me, you never told me about that. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my daughter was with me every single time. So um, um, she was like, no, she told you every single time. And he was like, well, I wasn't talking to you. And she was like, yeah, well, you're talking to my mom. and and then, you know, he was kind of just telling her, shut up. And I said, you know what? I've told you that every single time. Just write that SHIT down. Yeah, I kind of got upset. So I just told him, write that shit down. That should be down there. And it was there. It's on a piece of paper that he had. It was the first thing they found. You know, write it down. And so he wrote it down. And then he yelled at me and told me I overwhelmed him. And even before that whole conversation went on, he was telling me I overwhelmed him, and he gave me a dirty look, and he was just really rude to me. And I really, at first, I looked up to him as a doctor. To tell you the truth, I was really looking to him like a child looks to their parent, that they need help and they want to believe in somebody and trust somebody. Because I was so broken from what happened to me in California. I needed to believe that this man was going to be good to me, and he seemed to have been, to start with, it seemed that he would be a good doctor to me. He's finding all the things that they had missed over in California. So I thought, okay, at least he's finding some stuff that needed to be resolved so that I can, feel better and get the healing that I need, deeper. And, but he just fell through as a doctor, and I had to switch doctors, and I went to Dr. Oglesby, and he is the one that found that my kidney is been dilated for over a year and a half. I went in, I had a surgery already. They put a stent inside of me, in which when he went in, he was not able to see the stone because it was so swollen and so out of proportion, because it was over a year and a half. He said when I came to, he said it had to be there over a year and a half in order for it to be that hard and that dense that I can't even get through the stone itself. I couldn't even get near it because it's in close to an artery that's in a very a place that's kind of dangerous. And so I have to do, he said, an open surgery, something they haven't done for over 20 years. Now, if he would have taken care of that a year and a half ago, when I told him about it, when he saw it and he tried to deny it, I wouldn't be in this situation. I have to have the surgery. If I don't have the surgery, I'll die. If I have the surgery, I still have a chance of dying because it has gone untreated for so long. And I can also live. So that's, which I plan to do. And but if that is in God's divine order, I'm not one of these people that's all about me and what I want. It's about what God sees better above any of us as individual human being, or one that is having individual experience as a identity experience within this persona of, who we each choose to experience from that angle, you know, is still from a particular looking glass and an angle, and we can see a lot, but still that's why we need to let go and surrender to the absolute source within us all, which sees everything more profoundly and more clearly than we can in an individual moment. Yeah, even though we can all feel it in that individual moment. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, so back to that whole doctor thing. Yeah, so I have to have an open surgery now. That's really risky. all because everybody just dropped the ball, you know? And I was just so traumatized the whole time. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'm working with, and thank God for my spiritual, grounding and who I know myself to really be, because I've been that way ever since I was born. I never really forgot, and I started doing yoga and stuff when I was like 5 years old. I was like, told my dad what I was going to be doing, and I was pretty aware. So, very quiet. I didn't talk until I was probably like in my early 20s. Before that, I was pretty silent, and a lot of it was the shaking, my hands shaking, and my eyes being crossed. And also, I just felt like it's kind of funny, but I felt like kids like did a lot of unnecessary movement and motion and actions, and I was real meditative and silent and still, and I just rather do that. So, so that was a little piece of my past that was interesting. Anyways, the whole thing was happening with my kidney. This kind of stuff is happening all over. I mean, there's horrific things going on within the system because it's broken down so horribly, that is so unjust, that it blows my mind. I have a friend right now that her 2 children are in a situation right now. Well, one of them has been already so traumatized beyond belief for years, um, and the other one, who is blood related to him, he has half custody with her, and she's trying to get her baby that's only 4 years old away from this monster, and the system is not listening to her. It's like as if they were like, okay, this child was hurt, and we see that they've both been damaged somehow, but we're going to only acknowledge this one girl that, he doesn't have the right to touch her or be near her, but they're still allowing him to be with. Okay, that's just wrong, and we would think when looking at that, like, there's got to be something wrong here, like that can't be real. But you know what? Yes, it can be real. Okay, because with my case, they said there wasn't enough evidence. They threw it out. He never. It started off as a felony, and it never went through because they said there wasn't enough evidence. When there was over amount of evidence, I'm still a living piece of evidence. My kidney is. Me being in pain for that whole time since he beat me to this point now, that I'm still alive by the grace of God. I am a walking evidence of the system not working properly. This woman that is my friend and our sister of love and light is a walking evidence, and her children suffer greater than what we can even comprehend. Okay? You remember being a child, that even if you lost your mom for a moment, how petrified you were? How we look up to our elders? What these children must be going through when they're with this man, terrified? And so many people just want to brush it under the rug, and we can't do that anymore. We just can't. This is not the time for us to sit down and allow things to be brushed under the rug and for us to just ignore it. There's people that are suffering that we could stop the suffering if we just stood up and did something about it. Put our spiritual practice into action. We did not just learn to meditate and to become divine, peaceful beings and connected to the absolute source that we ultimately are, just to sit with it and go, oh, I am whole and complete, and that's it. No, it's meant to be. Now anchor that energy. Now take it out. Let's move. Let's move it. Okay? We need to make some action, seriously, because too many people in the spiritual community I've seen turn their face because they just don't want to get their hands dirty, or they just don't want to get involved because they feel that is lowering their frequency or disturbs them or distracts them or whatever. And I understand that because I too have went through that phase of feeling that many things can be a distraction for me and I'm not ready for it at that moment, maybe, which can be true. However, we need to really get bold. We really do, because there are some people that have been calling us, and I could hear their cries. And that's the silent cry that you hear when you open your heart and you stop putting up the walls. And then you hear yourself and another being crying out, realizing that we're not separate, you know? Each little petal of that one flower is equal to the other. We're all equal to one another. We all have the divine essence moving through us equally. We equally have the right to eat and to breathe and to have water and to be existing in a peaceful way on this planet. This planet is a peaceful planet. It is us, the human beings, that we've distorted our perspectives of things and tried to control it. It's the whole issue of wanting to control something that really ruins the authenticness of who we really are as essence of divine energy that comes into this world. I don't know what that was, but anyways, somebody coming on. Yeah, so it's about us being authentically present and being true to our own self. I mean, truly who we really are and being authentic. You know, and being authentic, you have no need to control. You don't have a lot of needs, wants, and desires, because that's not what we're here to be all about. And, you know, we need to get beyond a lot of our exterior type stuff and all our wants, needs, and desires, and realize what is truly important at the end of the day, what is really important at the end of your life, what matters at the end of your life, what's going to matter to you. What's going to matter to you is, did you help? Did you help to save somebody that was crying? Did you ignore it? Did you listen? Because I've been listening my whole life, and I will never stop, you know? And if we all would do that same thing together, it'd make a huge difference, you know? If you just have one man that's out there doing it, I mean, and you've seen many divine beings, you know, like Gandhi. Gandhi is a great example, you know? He's a living example. You know, he was a living example, and he is a living existence that moves through us all now. Why not rise up and be, as Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world? Do you want to see this world the way it is? Do you want it to continue? You can be well-wishers and wish it away. That's not enough. Because, why? Because well-wishing is fine and great, but it needs to be put into action. Okay? It's not enough, just that in itself. We need to get up and make some motion, movement. Now, some of us, we may be in a position where we're not able to because of something that, you know, where they can't move physically, literally, like, or they can't do certain things, they're limited. And I'm not, you know, I have compassion, understand. I'm not saying that every being is going to get up and, like, go down to the courthouses and, like, make a ruckus or whatever. But in small ways that we do things in our life from day to day makes a difference. Like, when you hear somebody crying for help, you listen. You help. If you hear somebody that's saying that, like Angie from Mystical Garden, okay? She has 2 children. One of them has been traumatized beyond belief. She has day terror and night terrors. This is horrendous. This is not acceptable. And the police didn't help her. They just tossed her aside. What is going on here? This is going on. This is real. Okay? I know another person, the same judge that didn't take care of me right, did the same thing to a woman with her kid as well, because she handles abuse cases, women and children that are being abused. And they're not taking care of the women and children. They're glamorizing and, you know, letting the bad guy go. And they're, you know, brushing under the carpet the victims and the people that are being harmed in these situations. And you know why they're victims? They're victims to our not doing something, okay? They're victims to non-action, okay? When you don't do something, that in itself is too an action. An action of I don't care. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to face life. I don't want to do it. I am too scared. I do not want to face such a heavy, foreboding energy. This is the reality of what human beings have been doing. Okay? Ultimately, let's get real. So, because of this type of behavior, it's become, like I said, like a cancer. If we do not stand up and do something about it, and us doing it as a whole, not just being in our little glamorous, blissed out place, okay? That has its place, okay? But it is not what it's all about. That's like glamorizing spirituality. We're not meant to glamorize anything. We're meant to be authentic in everything. And the only way we can do that is to stand up when you see something that's not clear and clean it. There's a lot of cleaning to be done on this planet. We have disrespected Mother Earth greatly. We have disrespected ourselves, and we disrespected our children, and we disrespect animals, and we have been so disrespectful, it's painful to even look at, quite frankly. And we glamorize and we hide behind things. And I'm not saying all beings are like doing that. I'm just saying a lot of us beings have done that and are doing that, and it has to stop, you know? And the only way that we're going to be able to change these patterns and move this particular energy pattern that we've created as a whole, which has a hold on us, until we learn to create something by facing it first, because remember, you can't heal a wound and get beyond a certain pattern until you look at it, acknowledge it, deal with it, face it, and walk through it, okay? You can't go around it, under it, over it. You have to go through it, okay? As walking through fire is a reality. It's the only way to let go of what we perceive ourselves to be as an identity. We are not a body. We are not actually a human. We're having a human experience. That's all. It's not that we are humans, but we have a responsibility as being in this human experience with divine consciousness to stand up when we see injustice, to bring something positive to something negative, okay? When you see injustice, and I'm not saying, oh, let's go help the bad guy, oh, no, no, no. No, let's go help the people that have been hurt by these people that are rebelling against light. You know, I cannot help a man that is not willing to help himself. I've tried, okay, in my life, foolishly. And not even foolishly, just I was in a position where I was with a man for a month that was a monster, and he was Satan himself, showing up in flesh, basically, is what it felt like. And, you know, he wasn't caring about love or compassion. He spit in the face of love and compassion, understanding, and sensitivity. He laughed in the face of it and professed to be higher than and God, Satan, and everything. So it's not always as like what we would like it to believe. It's just, you know, it's not always what we would like it to believe, period. Okay? There's some really bad and very dark things that we can't even understand out there. This is why we must be aware and be responsible to stand up before it continues to grow into such a huge situation that is of just way even more foreboding than what it already is. And this is all imploding in on us, by the way. You know, each one of us, this will implode back in on us, and we talk about it as being karma. Yeah, it does implode back in on us, but it does not take away from our responsibility as divine beings within this human experience to stand up and to do what is right and be active in, proactive in compassionate, loving presence. Period. It's just the way it is, you know. Life is like this. If we do not put our love and light into action, it's like wasting it, you know, for God's sake. For in the name of humanity, this is what I've been saying. In the name of humanity, I've been crying since the day I've been born, practically. I remember being 5 years old looking into this world going, oh my God, you know, oh, this is beautiful, but horrible, because beings that cannot understand the beauty of life and embrace it, instead try to control it and make it better as if it is needing to be better than it is, not realizing its perfection and its quote-unquote imperfection, is where many human beings have made mistakes in this world. Because life itself had a great balance. Life itself has a great balance. It's not to be us trying to control things, like, you know, it's like people like making it so the ocean cannot come in, so they put up walls so they can build houses there. That's ridiculous, you know, in all honesty, and no pun intended. I just am being real, because somebody in this world needs to be just real, and we all need to be real. Each one of us need to be authentic with ourselves and with one another in this life. We all have a responsibility to ourselves and one another, and the absolute source that moves through us, that allows us to have this experience as a human being, in facing one another, in delighting in one another, but suffering one another. Why? Because of the fear of one's own light. We cannot continue to marvel at darkness and go, oh, darkness is beautiful, it's part of it, la da da da. Yeah, it is in a sense. However, it is not meant to be handled in such a light way. We are meant to stand up and do something about it. Obviously, you did, I did. We moved ourselves from it, up out of it, and changed it for a reason. And the reason is because it's horrifically foreboding, and some beings get caught in it, and we are meant to help and assist those beings. And it doesn't make them less or more. It just means that, are we paying attention? Because we're supposed to be helping one another. There's no reason for anyone to be left behind in any way, shape, or form if we are all paying attention. This is the way I see it. You know? If we're all doing what we can be doing in this world properly, by being completely present, you know, people hear somebody screaming across the way, do something. If you see a child that acts in a particular way that you feel concerned or sense something, do something about it. Stop hesitating, people. Why do you hesitate? Do you not trust yourselves? There's moments that you have hesitated when somebody was suffering because you were afraid. And we all have. There's all been a moment that people just thought, it's none of my business. And it's everybody's business, because ultimately it has affected this whole world. And Mother Earth is suffering and cries. And I am also a reflection of that, and you all are a reflection of that. It's written all over us, you know? So I guess that's what I'm putting out there. It's intense, and we all have a responsibility to help one another. And I just pray with all of my heart that you guys can all, along with me, we can all together in divine equality rise in love and peace and understanding and comfort, and mend the wounds of many who suffered at the lack of understanding and us not putting our love into action properly in the way that would protect those that could be vulnerable in times like this, because that's what's happening. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. I love you guys with all my heart. I know that we're all going through a lot of changes. I'm not condemning anything. Darkness has its time and place to awaken. My focus is in helping our brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters who are in a time of need. So, anyways, I love you guys, and let's stand together, because if we don't stand together, that's when we fall apart. So we must always stay together. I love you all. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Hari Om. Namaste.